Hey guys, just wanted to talk to you about something I've been thinking about and thought you guys might be interested in talking about. Um, and that's that big data is clearly having major impacts on our society, both positive and negative, and just kind of want to talk through those, what the impacts are. And I think the best way to get into it is just to talk about how businesses have adopted big data and then kind of apply that to everyday life and individuals. So businesses have started using big data, and it's nothing new. I'd say the main change is that small businesses are now able to use big data about their own businesses, thanks to services from Google and Amazon, like Google developer tools or whatever, Google Cloud Services, and then Amazon Web Services. Those are two major providers for uh, basically data and data analytics and data storage and all that stuff. So businesses, small, large, whatever, of all sizes, are using data to understand how their customers interact with the business itself. So that starts from marketing emails to potential customers. That includes production of the business's products, and that includes the buying process, whether that's online or in store. And then finally, like feedback. So they're using information that they collect from buyers and from other sources to help improve their businesses so that customers can more easily spend their money and buy products from them. So I guess the positive impacts of big data on businesses are that it makes the businesses more efficient. It gives them better quality control because they can analyze the whole process that the customer goes through and notice, here's where the customer is dropping off. We need to fix this part of the buying process, or then the manufacturing process, like this takes us this amount of time. If we could get it to X amount of time, we'd make this much more money. We could produce 10 times as many goods, or whatever it is. And then also having access to that data gives businesses the ability to innovate and pivot when necessary, based on the data that they have. So if they're able to recognize that customers like their products, but they're going somewhere else to buy something else to supplement that or complement it or whatever, they can say, oh, well, we noticed this in the data, and so we think we need to run after this in order to improve our business. Without data, that would just be, I kind of think this is what's happening. But with data, there's hard evidence that businesses can look at so they know which direction they need to go, which means that they'll save money over the long term if they don't spend money on R&D for things that aren't even necessary or that their customers don't want. And then some of the negative impacts are that it can be expensive to adopt, which is understandable, especially if you're a small business that's never relied on data before. You might need to spend some money training your employees. You might need to hire someone to analyze that data or to manage it and keep it stored safely and in a way that works for your business. And then there's also the compliance side, where businesses need to make sure that they're not losing their customers' data, because that could lead to legal issues, lawsuits, and that can cost a lot of money to fix. And then there's also the opportunity for hacks and breaches. That's clearly a downside, because if you lose access to someone's data, you probably owe them something, so you might get sued, and you'll have to fix the issue, and then also spend money and time, resources to fix your reputation so that people trust your business and don't just go, oh, well, that company lost, 1 million user records, so I'm not interested in doing business with them. And then another of the negative effects that I think big data has on business is that it kind of creates a culture that is open to surveillance. So if every business that I interact with is collecting information about me, that normalizes it, like it's just the norm that every website I go to, every store I go into is using tracking software, facial recognition or something. It just makes people more comfortable with that, which I think is fine if it's benefiting people. But as soon as the government says, well, Amazon is tracking people, and Amazon's physical stores just use facial recognition for this or whatever, then they can do the exact same. They could potentially do the exact same surveillance on people to kind of control their citizens, which I think is concerning, but it might already be happening, probably is already happening, but just want to minimize the effects of mass surveillance where companies or the government or whoever is able to track people's behavior and identify potential criminals and maybe use that maliciously to target certain ethnic groups or something. There's just some concern there that I think needs to be noted. And then another negative impact that's kind of just data across the board, not necessarily business applications, is that we've kind of stripped a lot of processes of the human aspect, which is fine in a lot of business situations where I think the human element can kind of cloud the waters and make something unclear that really doesn't need to be. Like credit score, for example, how banks and lending institutions have used that number in place of someone's reputation or the relationship that they've developed with the bank. Obviously that makes the bank's job much easier, so they don't have to go through every person and take a guess of whether or not they're going to pay back a loan. It gives them kind of a hard number to work off of, and I think that's a good example. But I think if we take that too far and completely remove the human element from everything, or just a lot of processes, I think we stand to lose a lot. And what I was thinking about how the job hiring process works, how if you interview with a company, you give them your resume, all that stuff, you're given a chance to sell yourself, to show off your best features, your ability to interact with people, and kind of maybe your cultural fit with the team that you're interviewing for. If we use data to do that, we just say this person has this degree, they have this many years of experience, they're this age, they're a male, they're whatever. I think we're basically just creating robots, which might be fine for some businesses, but I think the cultural and the ability for someone to connect with other people is still an important part of many jobs. So I think it's kind of difficult to put that into numbers and to have data around that, but I guess that's certainly possible. And as artificial intelligence and machine learning develop, I'm sure the use of big data will continue to expand, and some applications that seem impossible today might be totally reasonable in, say, 5 to 10 years. So big data definitely is not going anywhere. Companies are using it. People are using it in some ways. Like I was thinking about fitness tracking, how people collect information about how far they run or how far they ride their bike or whatever it is, and upload that and use that information to determine a training schedule or their physical fitness or whatever it is. So people are using big data every day, whether they notice it or not. And I think the impacts should be good. It should make our lives easier and more efficient, but there's definitely an opportunity for companies or governments or some group that gets control of massive amounts of data to use that data in a negative way. And I think we just need to consider that.